When we think about taking risk, we often think about things such as going rock climbing, climbing a ladder, or riding a bike. However, what is seen as a risk in one culture is often either seen as less risky or is genuinely less risky to another culture. Our understanding of risk is not simply about encountering physical harm. Our understanding of risk differs according to our cultural perspective. What matters to us determines our understanding of risk. Ulrich Beck passed away recently and was a sociologist examining risk, not from a personal psychological point of view, but from a sociological perspective. Beck invited us to ask, how does a whole society, a whole world, decide what are acceptable risks? The level of concern about a risk is not the same as the objective likelihood of the consequence. Our ideas of risk can be culturally constructed. A simple example is Australia's obsession with bicycle helmets and the risk of riding a bike. After 3 decades of helmet regulation and promotion in Australia, it's no surprise that Australians have been led to believe that getting on a bike is high risk, even for just riding along the foreshore on a flat path. People in other parts of the world often find the Australian obsession with bike helmets absurd for a number of reasons. Beck identified that our knowledge of what constitutes a risk depends upon the science and information available to us. A good example of this is the problem with the ozone layer. Prior to satellites accidentally detecting the depletion of the ozone layer, humanity was not aware of the scale of the risk posed by chlorofluorocarbons in aerosols and refrigerants. If we didn't have those satellites detecting the ozone depletion, it's possible that all life on planet Earth may have been extinguished by now. Crops would have failed and cancers would have increased. Yet we would have only been able to speculate upon the causes. We would have been searching for explanations. Instead, because we detected the depletion of the ozone layer with some very advanced technology, we were able to put in place the Montreal Protocol. This protocol limited the production of these dangerous chemicals and has effectively saved the planet. As a sociologist, Ulrich Beck identified some of these social processes around risk. In 1986, Beck published Risk Society, which was, fortuitously for the promotion of his book, timed with the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. The Chernobyl disaster involved the meltdown of a nuclear power plant in Russia, sending radiation across much of Europe and, to a limited degree, globally. Beck identified a number of key aspects of a risk society. Here are a few. In a risk society, there is a boomerang effect, in which the victories of first modernity come back to bite us. In first modernity, environmental problems would assault the senses, and in second or reflexive modernity, the risks are invisible to our senses. Hence, we move from a politics of materiality to a politics of definitions. The struggle becomes over how risks are detected and defined. We move from a politics of goods to a politics of bads. The previous analysis of societal struggle as being over the control of the means of production, the goods, moves to a struggle over who avoids the consequences of production, the bads. There is a combination of the scientisation of politics and a politicisation of science. Scientists start to speak out politically, and politicians begin to question science. Does this sound familiar? Beck was also renowned for some contentious quotes and arguments. Beck's claim that poverty is hierarchic and smog is democratic is designed to illustrate that we're all exposed to the harms from environmental impacts. However, the idea that smog is democratic can readily be challenged. Smog is not distributed equally. Those with more wealth and power have the capacity to evade the consequences of environmental harms. Maybe not forever, which is why Beck referred to class as a zombie category. The differences between the upper class, the capitalists, and the workers and the marginalised, which form the basis of class difference, become living dead categories. They remain, but they are doomed. people of different classes, whether they are the bourgeoisie or the proletariat, walk amongst us, but we all go down together. Again, the idea that these categories are dead is highly contentious. Further, Beck suggests the possibility of a cosmopolitan moment occurring, in which a second enlightenment happens. The idea in this proposal is that the shared menace of risks which threaten us all, regardless of our nation, race, gender, or class, will bring all of humanity together. It's a bit like the movie Independence Day, in which we, humanity, led by the Americans, of course, fight off the alien menace. Beck was not suggesting that a cosmopolitan moment would definitely happen. The recent revival of nationalism, particularly in the US and Great Britain, highlighted by a Trump presidency and by Brexit, suggests that the world is heading in a different direction. However, this suggestion by Beck has seen him painted as somewhat of an unrealistic optimist. I'm still waiting for the great leap forward. Do you think a cosmopolitan moment is possible?